How did you enter the big world of finance?
And I graduated with my MBA in 91, which was not a great period for the US economy. The only job I could get was a banking job.
Why did you shift to venture capital?
The crash happened in 2002, the dot-com crash. Cost of product development in Silicon Valley at that time was incredibly high. So I had a thesis that eventually product development would shift to India and China. We started a consulting company. I think we need to start a venture fund in India. In 2006, we launched the fund, and fortunately, within a couple of years, we had found great companies.
To speak of that young entrepreneur called Vijay Sambamurthi, I think you also not just backed him, but you also backed him through some pivots. And I would say arguably about Snapdeal, the same thing, right? They didn't originally start as a e-commerce business, which they eventually ended up pivoting to. So why I'm drawing these parallels is there is a parallel between your own journey here, where you went through this banking journey with SBB, and then pivoted to the consulting model because it's not easy to get a banking license in those days anyway, regulatory perspective in India. So you pivoted to that kind of a model and made it work, and then eventually pivoted to investing yourself. And so would it be fair to say that you had more patience with entrepreneurs and their pivots and more understanding and empathy with that? So walk us through your philosophy around some of these, how you treat your founders when they come and tell you something fundamental like we're going to change our business.
Yeah. Actually, I have a very different philosophy on this. First of all, listen, I'll be honest with you. People say this all the time, but I really believe in it. I back people first and foremost. I mean, if you can talk to all the entrepreneurs I've known, you could call Viraj at Viba or Kunal at Snapdeal or Rajiv at Sula. We back people, right? Sure. Because sometimes we come in so early that there's really no basis. You're really betting on the founder and betting on how big the company can become, right? So as I look at what happened, I think so our philosophy is how do you treat your founders? First of all, I think for us the key is this founder passionate?
Sure.
Do they have vision? Do they understand the domain? But for me, the biggest test is what you just said, is if things don't work out, is this founder going to be open to pivoting? Or are they going to be stubborn about their idea? Yeah. So in my due diligence phase, when I spend a lot of one-on-one time with founders before I actually pull the checkbook out, this is one thing I try to assess. I'll give you a simple example. So we have a company in our portfolio we had called Mezi, which we sold to American Express. Yes. So when I met them, Mezi was introduced to me by somebody in our network, and all he called me and said was, Ash, these are your kind of entrepreneurs. You have to meet them. So I went to meet them. I liked them, and we moved forward. But the one thing I asked them, at that time they were a B2C company. And I said, listen, this is great. They were the first chatbot ever. Okay, before chatbots were called chatbots.
Sure.
So I said, this is going to take a lot of capital over time. And what if we realize that the cost of doing what we're doing is going to be so high that you guys are going to get diluted? Will you be open to reconsidering the model at some point? It was a very hypothetical question.
Sure.
And they were like, listen, if our current model doesn't make sense, we will work with you, you guide us, we'll figure out a pivot and we'll do something different. Absolutely. They were not stubborn about that idea.
That's a green flag straight away.
But there are entrepreneurs who say, you know what, you don't know what you're doing. I know my domain, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm never going to change it, and I'm going to be stubborn about it. That is a red flag for me, and I pass. So, but the best companies that I have invested in are companies that have pivoted.
Sure.
197 to Paytm, Snapdeal from Groupon model to e-commerce to marketplace. Again, another one. Mezi, I just gave you an example of, right? So that just shows you the entrepreneur thinks bigger than just narrow, right? Yeah. They have a wider sense of what the vision is. Vijay told me when it was at 197, we're going to be $1 billion company. Sure. Now, of course, he's way surpassed that. But to have the confidence where you're not even valued at 20 million.
When not a single company in India was valued at $1 billion.
Exactly. Yeah. But that vision was there, right? And so you back people like that. So I think that's really it is. You want people, a little chutzpah, as I would say.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, you've got to work with, I agree, that founders who are a wavelength match with your philosophy, right? That's very important. And founders who are not just looking at money, but looking at guidance from you and are willing to listen. Wonderful. So now I'm going to I mean, there's obviously a lot of successes you've had through the 20 odd years that you all have been investing in India. But the nature of the beast of venture capital is that you may have had a lot of successes, but you also have had some not so great outcomes.
Correct.
But I'm not going to focus on instances of which outcomes didn't work well, but I'm going to focus more on the principle and the issue that needs to be addressed. So this question I'm going to pose is more about when you look at founders, what are some of the messages that you have? I mean, I'm sure you're asked this question a lot in industry forums and conferences and stuff. So, but I'm going to still ask you this question, but in a more focused way. So, how do you ensure that, for example, your founders, some of the common problems that I have seen, and I'm sure you've seen much more than I have, but I have seen as well is that initially they have a certain level of passion in their business, and obviously some of them see it through and take it to well past. I mean, if you wanted to build a unicorn, but that unicorn is way past now, that it's an irrelevant milestone. So many people are like that who continue with that. Some people lose steam. That's one problem. Second problem is that some people start maybe congratulating themselves too soon. So in situations like this, how do you think you as a VC investor step in and ensure that the companies stay focused on what they're supposed to be doing and focus on what they do best, which is to keep growing the business in the right way?
So there are two things I'll talk about. One is just general industry, and then I want to talk is our approach
Of course.
at Sama.
Yeah.
General industry-wide, I think one of the biggest misconceptions founders have is that raising money is a sign of success.
Of course.
To me, that's just the beginning, right?
Indeed.
The sign of success is when you build a large company, you're able to return value to your stakeholders. That is not just your investors, but your employees, your
Everybody.
team members, your management, yourself, your family, right? People so mistake this. So, there's big announcements, we raised this much money. To me, that's unnecessary. I think what you focus on is what the business is doing. How is the business growing? How is it scaling, right?
Yeah.
So we made valuation as a benchmark of success.
Yeah.
We made funding a benchmark of success, which is not really true. But for us, the philosophy is very different. One of the things I take pains at, and I think enough of my portfolio companies to attest to this, my first focus is building trust with the founder. I want to build trust with them where they feel comfortable enough to call me at midnight with good news or bad news.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a personal crisis or a professional crisis, right? I don't want to be managed. And sometimes I think founders spend so much time, how do I manage my investors? How do I tell them what they want to hear? And this is where the mistakes happen. This is where the governance lapses happen, right? So to me, the main focus I've taken is first and foremost, build trust among your founders that they feel comfortable. Even when there's bad news, to know, okay, you're not going to panic. You're going to sit there with them and work through it, right?
Yeah.
And listen, it always costs more, always takes longer.
Yeah.
Okay? And you want a partner who will work with you through all of that. Yeah. And I think sometimes the mistakes founders make is they focus on just taking money without realizing, is this smart money or no? So listen, coming from the Valley, I'll tell you, they're smart angels.
Sure.
Okay, who build businesses, operate business, who actually add value to you as an angel.
Yeah.
They guide you, they help you. When you have a problem, you can go to them. But then there are angels who you are being invested in because you'll be talked about at a cocktail party.
Yeah.
And Vijay, don't get me wrong, today you can throw a rock in Gurgaon or Bangalore, you hit an angel. Okay, there's a lot of money.
I understand what you mean. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that take money, whether it's institutional or angel, take the right people. If you're going to take angels, take people who operated businesses, who understand your domain, who can open doors for you, right? And take institutions who are known for being patient, who are known for working with you, who understand your space.
Of course.
The other thing is, think about consumer investing is different from tech investing. Cycles are different. Patience levels are different.
Of course.
Right? So we have to focus on that. But I think for me, the biggest thing is you have to spend time upfront with the entrepreneur, right? And you're right, people can get carried away. Things happen sometimes. The companies struggle for different reasons. For me, I don't have an issue with it as long as the founders have done everything they can within their power.
Of course.
To survive, to scale, to pivot, to change. But sometimes things happen. For example, ChatGPT came and overnight destroyed business models of one of our companies.
Okay.
It's not the founder's fault. They,
Yeah.
even they didn't see it coming, we didn't see it coming, right? So even though we're winding that company down today, we don't hold the founders responsible.
Understood.
But then we have other
That's a game-changing event.
It is. So that's okay. Companies, market changes, things happen. But then there are situations where egos come in, co-founders have dysfunction, they all try to harm each other, That kind of stuff is what I have a problem with. Sure. But you can never truly assess. People's colors change. But the more time you spend upfront building a relationship with the founders, understanding who they are, where they grew up, how they grew up, who their families are, what their value system is, I think that is as important as the financial metrics of the company.
Understood. No, that makes total sense. And I think you made some very, very insightful points there, because I think founders very often raise money from people who they can't manage because they want money and they're just trying to close. It may not seem like a big issue because they are not bad people, they are reputable people. But it's not about good or bad, but it's about who's more suitable for your cap table and your journey, and who's more likely to help you. So I'm very happy to hear.
Can I give an example of that?
Sure, please.
So I think he's also a client of yours. Talk about Viraj Bell at Viva.
Of course.
Okay, Viraj has built an incredible company.
Incredible,
right?
Yeah.
And I've known Viraj in his previous avatar at Fun Foods, which was a company his family had started and they sold.
Yeah.
But Viraj, I've known him for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
The most thoughtful entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life.
Right.
Now think about it. He has never chased valuation. In fact, if you know very well, as you're his legal counsel, that his same 3 investors have been there throughout his entire journey.
Yep.
Right? Yep. That's because he is not focused on valuation. He's focused on who are my right investors? Who's going to help me?
Indeed.
Who's going to do this for me? And not being afraid to say no. I will pick the right investors despite having so much demand. So I think that kind of attitude to say, I want to do what's right for my company. I don't want to do what's right for the press. I don't want to do what's right for media or for the ecosystem. I'm doing what's right for my company and my stakeholders. If you look at his journey, right, you have gone through great times, tough times, survived the pandemic.
Right.
And today you built a significantly important player in the FMCG ecosystem.
Right.
But not once have you ever heard Viraj talk about his valuation?
Yes.
About the amount of money he's raised?
Indeed.
Never.
And also it's other people who talk, right? Obviously Viraj is a client, but he's also, like you, a dear friend. So that's one thing which I'm not told him, but I think it's a good attribute that he has is he doesn't focus too much on spreading the message. He's focused on building the business the right way. So thanks for that example. What can the Indian government and the Indian legal system do to give more comfort to the international investor community to invest in India?
I think we are fortunate to have a prime minister who actually understands startup. Lack of consistency in tax implementation is an issue. Companies have so much of a compliance burden. Trying to wind down a company here is sometimes a 6-month, year-long process.
I'm sure every venture fund has some companies that they wish they hadn't missed. So what's your story?
Looking back, there are a couple of companies that I wish we had looked at differently.